All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at a source that makes a pretty provocative claim, one that talks about what it calls Russia's global gambit for World War III. It's a really specific strategic analysis of global tensions, so let's get straight into unpacking what it's all about. And right off the bat, the analysis we're exploring hits us with a question that, let's be honest, is on a lot of people's minds. How close are we, really, to another global conflict? It's a pretty intense starting point, and it definitely sets the stage for a high-stakes look at how the world works today. So to even begin to understand the argument here, we first have to define its central idea. The whole thing is built around this concept of a geopolitical gambit. So what in the world does that actually mean? Let's break it down. Okay, so think of it like a chess move. A gambit isn't just any old move. It's when you deliberately take a big risk, maybe you even sacrifice a piece, all because you're hoping for a much, much bigger payoff down the line. It's the very definition of a high-risk, high-reward strategy, but, played out on the world stage. So if we're talking about a gambit, the next question is, where is this game even being played? Well, the source we're examining argues that it's not happening in just one single place. Instead, the whole world is the global chessboard. And this is where the source really starts connecting the dots across different regions. In Europe, it points to things like energy supply and military movements as pressure tactics, all designed to test just how solid NATO's unity is. Then you jump over to the Middle East, and the argument is about building new alliances to challenge long-standing Western influence in the area. And in Africa, the claim is about Russia expanding its military and economic footprint, especially in regions that are already pretty unstable. The key idea here is that, according to this analysis, these aren't just random, isolated events. They're seen as coordinated moves in a much larger strategy. Okay, so we've got these separate moves happening on the global chessboard. But how does that connect to something as massive as a world war? That's a huge leap, right? Well, the source argues it all comes down to a few key escalation points. So, the crucial thing to understand here is the potential for a chain reaction. The theory presented goes like this. Step 1. A conflict ignites in one of these regions we just looked at. That's the spark. Step 2, all of these existing treaties and alliances start kicking in, pulling other major powers into the fight. And then comes step 3, the most dangerous one, direct confrontation. That's when those major powers find themselves face to face. It's basically a domino effect, but on a global scale. And this brings us to the source material's ultimate and most serious conclusion. If you follow that path of escalation, that chain of dominoes, it leads directly to what the title has been warning about this whole time, the potential for a new World War scenario. According to this analysis, this is the potential endgame of the whole global gambit. We're not talking about a single localized war anymore. We're talking about a sprawling conflict fought on multiple fronts across the globe. This is the scenario where all those separate regional disputes stop being separate issues and instead become interconnected battlegrounds in a much larger struggle. This quote really gets to the absolute heart of the issue. It frames everything as this incredibly delicate balancing act, right? Is a military exercise just a country showing its strength, just posturing? Or is it a direct threat, a provocation? The source argues that in today's tense environment, one side's strategic move can easily be seen by the other as a direct challenge. And that kind of miscalculation is where the real danger is. And so that's the question we're left with. Based on this framework we've just explored, where exactly is that line? At what point does strategic maneuvering, a bit of posturing, cross over into a conflict that you just can't walk back from? It's a critical question, and it's at the very center of this analysis, and maybe for the stability of our whole interconnected world.